Hi, this is Lisa Kleitch, and this is a presentation on form as part of the Elements of Music. This lecture is going to be a little bit longer. Not that form is harder to understand, it just takes longer to listen to it to make sense of it. So form is an overarching structure that provides the framework for contrasts and repetitions. Music is done in sections. And it can be as simple as the black and white visual that I have here. It's one section, another. Same. We go back to the first section, another. Or it can be more complicated, like what we see in the floral design, where there's definitely repeats and contrasts, but there's a lot more happening within that structure. So almost every work of music has two parts. Unless it's just some of the most basic of nursery rhymes. And so we call that A, B. And when it just has A, B section in it, it's binary form. And so you have two contrasting sections, generally described as a verse and a chorus. Not always, but generally. And folk music. Lots and lots and lots of folk music is structured this way. But a lot of the music that we pay for that's produced professionally, it's not going to be in this format. It's going to have those elements of A and B, but it's going to be jazzed up. So we'll do some talking about that. But before we do, let's just listen to a verse, chorus, A, B song. I'm sure you're familiar with it, and it doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just simple.
What happened?
Sorry, I played the wrong chord again. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
This is the chorus. And after 4 measures, they do it again.
Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
This is the verse.
In a one-horse open sleigh.
O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way.
Ha, ha, ha. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright.
What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells.
And we're back to the chorus. And I'm going to pause it here and move on because I'm sure you've heard this before. So, what are the features of a chorus? Well, part of what makes a chorus is it's repeated both in the melody and the lyrics. The melody remains the same, the lyrics remain the same every time you do it. One of the features of a chorus is regularity, and generally they are 8 measures long. Not always, but for the most part, our brains like that 8. You don't have to count it, you'll recognize it. When you hear it, your brain just likes that kind of regularity. So I've written it out here so that we have 1 measure for each line of the lyrics. And it lines up, boom, 8 measures. Now the verse, the melody remains the same, but the lyrics change. If you remember lyrics from our discussion on melody. So we have in verse 1, we're dashing through the snow. And in verse 2, a day or two ago. Same melody, different lyrics. And the chorus is 8 measures long, and so are the verses. Oh, our brain is so happy when we do that. So, how do we dress up this simplicity and make it a little bit more professional? Well, I've listed some of the ways to do that. We're going to go over those with introductions, instrumental solos, outros, 2 verses, and then a chorus. We're even going to talk about a pre-chorus and a bridge. So, an introduction. Generally, they're instrumental if the song is going to be sung, and if the work is instrumental, guess what? The intro is going to be instrumental too. Oops, I went ahead. Let me click the wrong thing. Here we go. And we'll get through Lionel Richie's introduction.
Prince and the Revolution.
So this is the introduction. And he launches into the verse then. And you've heard lots of introductions like that, I'm sure. Even ones you've recognized. Now, in the same work, he adds a guitar solo. Or any other instrument solo. It doesn't have to be a guitar solo. It's just that's what, Prince is a screaming guitar player, so let's put a screaming guitar solo in there. Yeah. Okay. We're going to leave them on that high note there. So, I'm sure you're familiar with solos, too. Now, a device that you've heard many, many times, but probably didn't have a vocabulary to put to it, is the outro. So, an outro is the way you end a work. So, here we go. Just the ending of a verse here. And we go to the chorus. Now normally the chorus would end here, but they're going to keep repeating that ending 9 times, in fact. And then this is the same music they use for the intro, but they're just going to fade it out. And record producers do this all the time. It's kind of like the party's still going on, it's just that we're leaving the room. Yeah, so that's an outro. Now, this goes in and out of popularity in popular music. A third section of contrasting material. It's generally shorter, and it generally comes after the second verse and the second chorus, and it's called a bridge. If you have a third section, sometimes, and it can just be called a C section, we have A, B, binary form. Add a third, it's C. So let's listen to this work by Lane Bryant. I think we're coming up on the end of the second verse, I think. And this is the chorus.
My belt turned loose from these old blue jeans. We both know that we lost it somehow. Let's get it found. Strip it down, down, down. Strip it down, down, down.
So it sounds like he's just going to go into a little instrumental interlude. But wait for it. It's coming. Here we are. This is the bridge. We haven't heard this before. And it was only 4 measures long, and we're back to the chorus. So, That's an example of a bridge, and I encourage you to listen to the whole piece on the playlist.
Cowboy boots by your
Now, a bridge doesn't have to be sung. We're going to listen to one that's an instrumental bridge. And long intro on this. Let me zip it up. So this is the introduction. We have the verse. And this is the chorus. Little interlude here. And this is the second verse. And the chorus. It starts out like an interlude, but then it keeps going. And even though it's just rhythm, they start adding some new elements. Oh, and we're definitely in new territory here. And it goes back to the chorus, which is what a bridge does. It kind of propels you back into the chorus. So, great example there. Thank you there, cast of Pitch Perfect. So, another type of fancy dancy that we can add to music is a pre-chorus, and Adele uses these a lot. And a pre-chorus, you can generally identify it because it's shorter. It's not 8 bars long. In this case, it's going to only be 4 bars long. And it helps, it's always repeated material, but it helps propel you into the chorus. So let's listen to that. So we have a verse. She's doing the verse twice, different with lyrics. Okay, here it comes. And there we go. That pre-chorus propels us into the chorus. And she'll do that every time. And again, I encourage you to listen to the whole performance on the playlist and follow along and see where you are on the form. Now, there'll be some links in the playlist that go to more complex forms. The longer the work is, you can be assured that it's probably got a more complex form. And there's sonata allegro form, and there's the symphony, and there's concertos. There's all sorts of longer forms that are in the realm of classical music. So, and then other cultures have longer forms too. So don't be afraid of them. It's just contrasts and repeats, and learning to identify those. So I'll leave you with that.